With just 2 weeks until the election, President Obama wants voters to read all about his plans for a second term. Here's a quick snapshot.
I've laid out a plan for jobs and middle-class security. And unlike Mitt Romney, I'm actually proud to talk about what's in it.
One advisor called that new blueprint a glossy panic button.
14 days before the election, now you're handing out flyers on your financial plan. You're like the procrastinator-in-chief.
You could say the same about Mitt Romney. Neither man wants to commit to too many details at this point.
I mean, last night, listening to Mitt Romney was like listening to a candidate who was running on Cliff Notes or who had Rosetta Stone foreign policy.
Let's get straight to our own Kate Baldwin and some unsolicited advice from our panel.
You know, I'll offer it anytime, even if you don't ask. Thank you. Well, hey there, you guys. So you heard that great kind of snapshot right there. The president saying that he's laid out his plan for a second term. So, Van, we're 2 weeks out. He's laying out his plan or highlighting his plan for a second term agenda. It's a little light on the details, many would say. What's the point now?
Well, I think he's taking my advice, because we were on unsolicited advice before, and I said he should just enumerate his plan, and so here we are. No, actually, I think what's amazing is he has had a plan. In fact, with his jobs proposal, which was stopped by Congress repeatedly, that was a clear plan. He was out on the stump for a year with a clear plan. I think it's an opportunity for him to remind people. It's not introducing anything new. He's reminding people, and I hope that what the public picks up on is, wait a minute, this sounds familiar. Oh, he was fighting for this all the past 2 years, and the Republicans stopped him. Even stuff like Republicans should have supported him on, like tax cuts for small businesses, tax cuts for 98% of Americans, bringing our troops home to rebuild America. All that stuff should sound familiar because he's been saying it the whole time.
Come on, Dan, you gotta admit, though, I mean, you're a wonky guy. Maybe you're not like sort of a political in the weeds, but honestly, if you're putting out a plan 2 weeks before the election, doesn't that suggest... Right, but doesn't that suggest that what you've been saying so far hasn't been working? Well, doesn't it suggest that what I've been doing so far maybe got us out of the hole, but I'm going to do more of it, just wasn't working well enough?
Or are you in a little bit of trouble if voters don't know this plan already?
I think what it does suggest is that there's, you know, I've heard a lot of complaints from voters, and I myself will tell you I complain about this, lack of big vision from both candidates. We've been in a very small campaign. You take a look at it. We have spent more time discussing children's toys, first Etch-a-Sketch, now Battleship game, than we have developing and articulating a great, big, optimistic vision for America in the next 4 years. I think they heard that, and that's kind of what they're trying to do. It's short on details, but it's high on gloss.
Look, we're past the 3 debates, right? Both candidates have been out there talking about what it is they want to do at some level for the past year and a half. We're now past the 3 debates. We're in the home stretch. What the president did today was kind of take everything he's been saying, put it together in one package and say, here it is. What the president needs to do also, which I think he's started to do, is say, here's what happens if I'm elected, and here's what happens if Mitt Romney's elected. He says he's got a plan. He may be running away from it, but let me tell you exactly what his plan means to you. And that contrast is what really is going to matter in this home stretch.
Doesn't that get, though, at the crux of the argument right now? Finally, in the last 2 weeks, President Obama he has been running against Mitt Romney, essentially. He hasn't been running for a second term of President Obama. We just saw 2 cutaways of the 2 campaign events just now. You had Mitt Romney saying, here's my 5-point plan, here's the direction I'm going to go. And then we saw cutaways of President Obama saying, Mitt Romney's a really bad guy.
Well, let me ask you this, though, Margaret. I mean, a Romney campaign advisor called this blueprint that was put out, called the booklet a glossy panic button. But Jessica Yellen, in the snapshot right off the top, made a great point. You could say kind of the same thing about the Romney tax reform plan, that it is also quite light on specifics, and he's been criticized.
This is 20 pages, and Mitt Romney's plan is 150. So it's not like there isn't.
I'm not sure that's a better thing.
It's 100, but it's principles, right? So you do have principles. You can do the sort of the math doesn't add up, and that's totally fair and legitimate. We'll have to see how they're going to make the numbers work. Sort of like passing a 2,700 page healthcare plan before you know what's in it. Maybe it'll all add up on the back end.
This is political marketing 101. Take a look at this plan. You can show some of the pages. It's long on pictures, short on detail. It doesn't matter. It's for the purposes of having a prop to hold up on stage and say, I've got a plan. Now feel better, Americans.
Yeah, but let me say 2 things about it, though. You're right that he has not done a great job of making sure people understand what his plan is.
Like summing it up?
Yeah, but part of that is because of what his job is. He both has to continue to make the point about what he wants to do, but he does have to take down Mitt Romney. And part of it is Mitt Romney's plan, though he has a plan, has been literally laughed at by economists. It's literally a 2 minus 2 equals 4 plan. And the president has a double burden here. He's got to be able to knock that down. So I think at this point, people who believe that Mitt Romney's plan is not a good plan need to hear what the president wants to do more clearly. And so that's what he's doing. From my point of view, if you look at where the president is right now, he had a bad stumble with that first debate. You look at his performance the last 2 debates, you see his base now rallying back to him. And I do over the next 2 weeks, you will see him holding that plan up. People are going to look at, well, what is the plan? And I think that's the conversation he wants to have now. I think he's now going to have, he will have, hey, listen, he had the Etch-a-Sketch as the prop for the other guy. He's got a plan as the prop for himself.
Unfortunately for the president, the debate that's mattered the most we've seen is the first debate. It's the one that became a game changer. We didn't see the second debate have anywhere near the same effect. Well, yet to see what the third debate has done.
In terms of like this plan and these plans that are kind of out there, Mo, you've worked obviously very closely and intimately in a presidential campaign. Is there a hesitance, especially this late in the game, to get into specifics? Because you don't want to rock the boat or mess it up?
No, and in fact, I'd argue in a race like this is exactly the time you want to get into specifics, right? We're down to the home stretch. We've got a very small group of undecided voters left. You want to do 2 things. You want to mobilize your base by drawing those contrasts between you and your opponent, and you want to speak to those remaining few undecideds by talking about the differences between you and your opponent. What's really striking to me is how much Mitt Romney's running away from the plan that he's been talking about for the past 1.5 years, and that's what the president really cannot let up on. He's got to hold his feet to the fire. It's not that Mitt Romney is a flip-flopper. That's part of it. The problem with Mitt Romney is that his plan doesn't add up and will have devastating consequences on the middle class.
No, go ahead, Mark.
The question, though, is as a messaging expert, you know, if you get into detail in the last 2 weeks, after you've already made your closing arguments to the American people, how much is going to resonate? How much is going to get through? All the ad time is bought up on the airs. You've got super PACs taking up all of the messaging. How much of these sort of details, nuanced specifics of an economic plan are going to get through when the major messages have already taken?
Have you guys taken a look at this brochure? What details are we talking about here? I mean, there's a lot of pictures with one of everything. There's, you know, woman, Latino, African American.
I think we have 2 copies at the table. You guys, just hold on one second, man.
I'm sorry.
You guys take a moment.
Yes.
Read it in the break.
I have seen more detail in a skincare infomercial than what's in here. I mean, I don't know what we're talking about.
On that note, we're gonna talk. We're gonna read through this a little bit more and talk about what Anna just said. And next, our panel is going to give some unsolicited advice to some very unsuspecting targets. We'll be right back.
I hope so.
Welcome back to the Situation Room and Unsolicited Advice. It's our time for our panel to give their unsolicited advice. Margaret, let's start with you.
Mine, you know, I got to start. It's just we've been watching the news the last couple of days in the cycling world, and mine is for Lance Armstrong. It's time to come clean. No pun intended. Really, I mean, what this guy has to do, he was a hero to so many people, brought a generation of athletes into a new sport in the United States. The best thing you can do is fess up, come clean, say what you did, and say you're sorry, because it's the first step towards redemption, and people know you did it. So
redemption
it's time
might be tough on this one. It's been, it's been quite a
it's a long path. It's a long path to redemption, but you start by saying what you did.
Good luck getting the money back. I think that would be redeeming if he gave some of the endorsement money back. But short of that, he could always take that and go to a desert island somewhere, buy one maybe with all the money he made.
And I think it is really heartbreaking, though. I mean, I had my little yellow band, and you know, it's sort of.
Here's the thing, though.
It was such an inspirational story of somebody overcoming something, and then. You know, it is really sad. I mean, I actually do feel sorry, not only for him, but also for all the young people he inspired.
I feel sorry for the organization, and I think that despite you know, these recent developments, we do have to remember that he did do a lot of good through that organization for many years.
And the organization can still do good, which I think people should remember.
So can he.
Right.
He's still a famous name. He can do good. We're gonna, you know, Americans are very forgiving people, and I think that if he spends some time now in his life doing good, continuing to do some good in charity,
eventually
you rehab.
Redemption.
Yeah. We do have a short memory in TV, that's for sure. Go ahead.
That's good. Well, my advice is for independent voters who are science fiction fans. Okay? Now, this could swing the election. So think about who Mitt Romney is. In every scene, he's different, okay? In one scene, he says, you know, Afghanistan, we shouldn't get out. And he says we should. On Syria, we should have ground troops. We shouldn't. He's changing. He's a shapeshifter. In no science fiction movie is a shapeshifter the good guy. You don't want the shapeshifter to take over the ship. Fear Romney. That's all I got to say.
You obviously do not watch True Blood. Because if you watch True Blood...
I said movie. See?
All right.
I've done my research.
Which is also by HBO, part of our parent company, so we support True Blood as well.
Anyway, so to all my fellow geeks,
you heard it here first
to all my fellow
from Van
geeks,
Jones.
Fear Romney. No shapeshifter in the White House.
You know, there's a lot of micro-targeting going on in Ohio, and I have a feeling now they're micro-targeting all the sci-fi readers directly to the shapeshifter.
And the problem with Romney is he's a shapeshifter wannabe. He keeps trying, but he can't pull it off because you can see right through it.
A failed shapeshifter.
Anna, please take this.
All right. My unsolicited advice is also to undecided voters, to uncommitted voters. All right, folks, we've now gone through 3 debates. We've seen these guys say jokes. We've seen them sing. We've seen them talk. We've been watching them now for 6 years, frankly. Decide. Make it easy for the rest of us. Let's wrap this up. Get off your fence. Put your finger in the wind. Flip a coin. Do whatever you have to do, but it's time to bring this home.
A lot of people don't believe that there are really undecideds out there, that people just aren't telling which way they're going.
I've actually met a couple in the last few days, which was amazing to me. I thought they were like Bigfoot. I thought they were some sort of mythical figure that existed somewhere only in the imagination, but there's actually evidence of them. I've met some. I'm even friends with a couple, it turns out.
And they will be very important come 2 weeks from now. Mo, take it away.
Voters are getting a lot of unsolicited advice here today. But my advice to voters is pay attention below the presidential line on your ballot. There are a lot of really important Senate and House races this election. Look, Congress is completely paralyzed by gridlock. It's got 14% approval rating. Moderates are fleeing the chamber. This matters. This matters. And it's easy for voters to just kind of throw up their hands and stare down at their belly buttons and say, I give up. But don't, because you can fix it. You can actually vote for people that will work towards common ground and reject those that are hyper-partisans. Because it's not just about the balance of power, it's actually about balance in politics.
So what you're saying is vote the person, not the party.
I'm saying vote for the people that are willing to come together.
He's saying vote for my client. This is an unpaid political advertisement approved by Mo.
I didn't mention any names.
But I really do think the president may have missed some opportunities when you say, well, why haven't you gotten more done? Why haven't you gotten more done? To actually run more fully against the Congress and say, look, and both parties vote for people who want to cooperate with each other. Not saying that just makes him look like he's a failure when, in fact, he's a victim of a dynamic that he hasn't tried to change directly. So I think your point's great.
You got to stop running against something. You got to run for something at some point. I think, you know.
He has his prop ready to go. We just need some more props. Okay.
How about you?
I knew you were going to ask. Today, I will offer some unsolicited advice. My advice is to both of the campaigns. Congratulations, you both have fabulous writers that are coming up with very creative catchphrases, from Obama-loni to now the latest Romnesia. I think at this point, 2 weeks out, it's time to put the catchphrases away, though, and the zingers and the one-liners, and really talk to voters, because I don't think the election's going to turn on those fancy words.
I like it.
I like it. Here's the deal. I think they should stop telling the jokes. But if it turns out that your economic 5-point plan is a joke, you should get rid of it, because the people who are laughing the most right now are the economists laughing at Romney's plan.
As you heard me say,
Glenn Hubbard, esteemed economist from the University of Columbia.
I will end on this. I think what people are laughing about is the fact that we were talking about sci-fi and niche marketing in Ohio. On that note, we will end our unsolicited advice today. Well, if I need to remind you of anything, well, we're 2 weeks out.
You guys are having way too much fun over there.
Way too much fun.
Calm down. Thank you. Some Florida Republicans are getting official-looking letters questioning whether they're legally allowed to vote. The problem is the letters aren't coming from anyone official.